This is Between the Lines, presented by Continental Diamond. I'm Tatum Everett. This is Ben Leber, and the Vikings have won their 7th straight game. It was a 30-12 victory today, and it was a very comfortable victory, especially there in the second half down the stretch, Ben. But I want to talk about how the Vikings have already clinched a playoff berth.
Yeah.
As a player, when you go into a game like this, it's a division game against a team who is kind of feeling, in a way, the oppositely as you. You've already clinched it. What's your mindset as you go out there to play tonight?
Well, I would go in with a little bit more motivation. I know it's kind of crazy to think because you're playing on Monday Night Football and it's a division opponent. You think that you'd have all the motivation in the world, but because of the games yesterday, they hand the keys a little bit more to you and give you a little bit more control of your playoff destination. So there is a little bit more to it. It's like, okay, guys, let's not have these guys hang around like they did the last time we played at Soldier Field. So let's take care of business. Let's get this win, have it be comfortable, look polished, and then get on the road to Seattle and try to win that one as well. But, you know, there is a little extra motivation because of what happened yesterday.
What did you learn about this team today?
Well, I would say offensively, we do just have to commit to running the football. You know, there was a stretch there when we came out in the second half. We had 2 drives. Now, they weren't long drives. I think we had, a 3 and out and maybe 4 plays, so 7 plays. We didn't run the football one time, not one recorded run. And then we go on a long touchdown scoring drive. Well, Aaron Jones ran the ball 7 times for 7 yards a clip. So there is a correlation, and we kind of talk about it a lot, that when we run the football, and again, it does not have to be 50-50, just running the football, the idea of running the football, it does set everything else up. So I just hope that we continue to learn, run the football. You know, even if it's for a 0-yard gain or a 1-yard gain, it still matters to a defense because they have to stop it.
The Vikings were able to punch in the red zone with 2 rushing touchdowns today. What does that mean for this offense at this late point of the season?
Well, I would say, you know, we've had a little bit of struggles the last couple of games in the red zone. Maybe not last week's game with Atlanta, but the couple games before that, teams were playing us really tough when we were trying to throw the ball in the red zone. And, you know, one way to combat that is to run the football. And so it also makes it a lot easier, Tatum, when we got about 1 yard to go. So
it does. It does.
So it looks nice. We got a rushing touchdown, but they really just had to execute a 1-yard play and kind of plunge in. But the point is, it was the runs that got us down there.
Yes.
And, you know, our offensive line being able to, you know, just enforce their will and move the line of scrimmage in those pivotal moments, that's big.
That is big. And one big play we saw, not only was it Justin Jefferson's catch to set up a touchdown, but it was also his touchdown catch itself. He had 4 yards of separation on that touchdown catch, which per NFL Next Gen Stats is the most he's had for a touchdown catch in the end zone. So
That's
I don't know
crazy.
how open he got for that one, but to see him out there, I think obviously he is a fantastic player, but how aware he is of our situation surrounding what Randy Moss is going through and him looking into the camera and saying, this one's for Randy, I think was a really, really cool moment. Could you see any of that from the sidelines, like any of those feelings towards that?
I just kind of felt it throughout the whole game. You
Really?
know, it was a part of our pregame broadcast to talk about Randy and just, you know, just let him know publicly how everybody's feeling about him. And then, you know, we certainly saw it when Chris Carter was standing right over here and you were doing that interview with him. He made mention of it as well. We saw it at the coin toss.
Yeah.
You know, so throughout the whole game, everybody was thinking about Randy Moss. And it is cool that these players are in these game situations, and you would think that they're hyper-focused. They've got this tunnel vision on just like executing this play, and then they score, have a big moment, and yet have the wherewithal to be a human being and think about other people in those moments.
Yeah, it was a really, really neat to see the many tributes to him, and we obviously wish him and his family the best with his battle. Moving on to the other side of the ball, though, the defense. Jonathan Grenard, the NFC NFC Defensive Player of the Month in November. He added a sack. The forced fumble was huge in this game, right? Like Cashman picks it up. We're able to capitalize off of that. He's had some big games. Maybe his stat line wasn't as big this time, but why was he so effective against the Bears' front?
Well, I would say foolishly, there was a few times where they left him one-on-one with a rookie left tackle in some key moments. And I'm like, You guys, you kind of just found out that your starting left tackle was not going to play because of a concussion. You put in this rookie from Yale, and look, no disrespect to him, but this is Jonathan Grenard we're talking. And there's some key moments where you don't even have a tight end or you don't have a running back to his side, and you just let Jonathan go out there and speed rush against you. I'm putting all my money on Grenard in those situations, and he made it count. I want to say this, though. You watched Jonathan Grenard drop in pass coverage. He did it on the very first drive of the game. He did it about 2 drives later. His ability to sugar at the line of scrimmage, fake that he's going to be rushing, drop back in coverage, and not just like be a body that's just standing there. Like he actually has awareness, like I'm taking away the slant. And then once that's taken away, he goes back and looks for the guy that's going to be the check down the middle of the field. Like his awareness just being a football player is off the charts.
How difficult is that to find in an outside linebacker?
It's really difficult. Look, we tried to do it with Daniil Hunter. And as good as he is rushing the passer, and as much as we were like, we kind of like talked ourselves into, he's going to be perfect for this scheme, you know? Well, he just really wasn't. You know, he's a straight ahead guy. And, you know, when you're trained to go straight ahead and just think about getting the quarterback all the time, it's a lot more to think about when you have to now think about pass coverages, route trees, what they can do in certain combinations, what they're looking for in down and distance. It's a whole other evolution that most of those guys that put their hand on the ground, they just don't have to think about.
Interesting. This defense has been very advantageous all season long. In fact, they've recorded a takeaway in each of the first 14 games of the season, which is the best in the NFL. So they had that forced fumble, which kept the streak alive, thank goodness. Now they lead the NFL in takeaways. How aware are offenses of things like that when they head into a game, and how can that play in the Vikings' favor?
Well, that's a great question because, you know, I've been in those meetings and I've seen and we've talked about, and you hear teams talk about how good one team is at a certain thing. And there's a little extra emphasis on one of those things to have them not take advantage of you. So I guarantee you these offenses are looking at these stats and they're saying, like, these guys are not only just opportunistic, but they are putting themselves schematically in places to pick off the football, to get a sack fumble, to do those things. And so, unfortunately, you know, for sometimes, and I guess fortunately for us in our situation, offenses might come into these football games a little more puckered up because they're worried about making mistakes. Because they know the second that they make a mistake, we're going to pounce and we're going to capitalize. So it does at times make you play a little bit tighter, and oftentimes that's not a good recipe for good football. No,
and Kevin O'Connell is one, and Brian Flores especially, but Kevin O'Connell has been one to take advantage of that. He is currently 5-1 against the Bears overall, and this is the 3rd season sweep in 4 years of this team. When was there a run like this against a Bears team as a Vikings former player and now a broadcaster? I mean, that's probably very unheard of.
Yeah, Tatum, you're hitting me with some history, and I do not have my Vikings almanac.
I know, I don't. I know I should have written that part down, huh?
No, it's fine, but I will tell you that it does seem like, and I don't know whatever it is, like some lore or some mysticism, that we always think that these guys are like way harder for us to beat, but we're showing, you know, time again, and what our record is at Soldier Field that. No, they're not the big bad Bears that we used to think they are.
However, there are a few big bad teams left on this schedule. Ben, we've talked about this for a couple weeks now, that these final 3 games are going to be tough. Seahawks on Sunday, then we come back here on December 29th, play the Packers, and then that January either 4th or 5th game against the Lions. It's a tough rest of the season stretch. However, these Vikings are back in the NFC conversation for that NFC North title, kind of up for grabs at this point. Despite the win today and the Lions' loss, the Lions still have the advantage over the Vikings in those standings. There's going to be a lot to play for in the next 3 weeks. Ben and I will have you covered for those.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much for watching Between the Lines.